Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda, and welcome to our channel. The Democrats have had a huge setback, and they are not going to be able to get $3.5 trillion funded. In fact, the main reason for that is a conservative Democrat from West Virginia, Joe Manchin, and Senator Kristen Sinema from Arizona. In fact, Nancy Pelosi is extremely disappointed. First, let's start by taking a look at a very important quote from Rand Paul, who says, I quote, "We're rapidly approaching $30 trillion in debt. We're actually accumulating debt at the rate of over $2 million per minute." Let's roll the tape and hear from Senator Rand Paul, the Republican. Let's watch.
The senator from Kentucky is recognized.
We are rapidly approaching a milestone in our country, and it's not a good one. We're rapidly approaching $30 trillion in debt. We're accumulating debt like we never have at any time in our history. We're actually accumulating debt at the rate of over $2 million per minute. Now, some say deficits don't matter. Some on the left say they have this new monetary theory, we can just print it all up, you can all have free stuff, there'll be manna from heaven, and nothing could go wrong. We're just going to give you money. If not $1,400 checks a month or a year, why don't we give you monthly checks? And that's part of the new plans. The new plans of the $3.5 trillion that we're facing down at this point, that'll all be borrowed.
Now, Senator Rick Scott, the Republican from Florida, said this on the latest job numbers. Are you surprised that even if people don't go to work when you pay them more not to work? Are you surprised if you give people free food, free healthcare, free housing, that able-bodied people don't go to work? Let's roll the tape and hear from Senator Rick Scott, the Republican from Texas. Let me know what you think.
Hi, Rick Scott here. 11 million job openings. And we only added 194,000 jobs in the month of September. And people said, boy, I'm surprised we didn't add more jobs. Now let's think about it. Are you surprised if people don't go to work when you pay them more not to work? Are you surprised if you give people free food, free healthcare, free housing, that able-bodied people don't go to work? Are you surprised?
Folks, this entire battle about the deficit, this is a very interesting clip featuring Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary. She pulled up a visual aid to explain the difference between national debt under President Biden versus his predecessor, the one and only former President Trump. Let's roll the tape and see what the White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, had to say. Let's watch.
I think I have a little chart here just to give you a little visual. Almost $8 trillion during the Trump administration, $676 billion during the Biden administration. So what Senator McConnell is refusing to do is to pay the debts of what were rung up under his leadership when he was in the Senate, still continues to be, of course, and when Trump...
And folks, while all this is happening, here's a headline of an article on your screen from Bloomberg. Pelosi steers party towards Biden agenda with fewer things. The Democrats are deadlocked on how to curb the cost of the president's plan, and the progressives are pushing to enact the full agenda, but for a shorter period of time. Clearly, House Speaker Pelosi is very, very disappointed. She said that President Biden's signature plan will be scaled back by focusing on fewer and more well-executed programs. She said this, I quote, "We have some important decisions to make in the next few days so that we can proceed. If there are fewer dollars to be spent, there are choices to make." Now, Democrats have to slim down a bill that was originally valued at $3.5 trillion, and they have to slim it down to $2 trillion, which is a figure that President Biden has floated as a potential compromise between progressives who are pushing for more and the West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin, who says he supports a number closer to $1.5 trillion. House Speaker Pelosi said, I quote, she's very disappointed the level of spending will be less than $3.5 trillion. She said, we're still talking about a couple of $1 trillion, but it's much less. And in a letter that House Speaker Pelosi wrote, she said that the emerging consensus is to do fewer things well so that we can still have a transformative impact on families in the workplace and responsibly address the climate crisis. The White House press secretary Jen Psaki said that the president endorses the speaker's approach, and she said the president agrees. And this is what Jen Psaki said. We have to have something that will pass the House and pass the Senate. Now, this is very important. The Progressive Caucus Chair Pramila Jayapal said that liberals would prefer to, I quote, reduce the number of years because the universality of benefits and the immediacy of benefits is absolutely critical. Basically saying, hey, we'll provide benefits for a shorter period of time, but we need to provide lots of benefits to lots of people quickly. That's what she basically means. She also said this. Something we're willing to look at is cutting back the years, say, for example, on free Community College. Now, this is very important. The Washington Democrat representative Susan Delbene, who's the chair of the new Democrat coalition, said this: "We cannot leave President Biden's legacy to chance with budgetary gimmicks and short-term cliffs. I have little confidence that a future Republican-controlled House or Senate would extend the enhanced child tax credit or other Democratic priorities without significant erosion." Basically saying, hey, we need to get as much done as we can right now, and we need to do it quick. And House Speaker Pelosi said this: "I am optimistic that we will get to where we need to be in a timely fashion." House Speaker Pelosi has already reset the focus for the end of the month, giving House Democrats a deadline, a target of October 31st to approve the Senate bipartisan bill, which contains $550 billion in new spending. And that date coincides with the expiration of what is a funding extension for federal highway programs. So what is the bottom line, folks? Here's another headline from Politico. Biden eyes a trim and slash approach for cutting down his reconciliation bill. The Democrats are divided between spreading the pain around or protecting and preserving their favorite pieces. In the end, they'll probably have to do both. Now, what is the White House trying to do? Here's a direct quote from Politico. One source familiar with the White House thinking says it's premature to say whether the White House is leaning towards a smaller number of programs for a longer number of years or maintaining as many as possible at a lower cost or for a shorter period of time. And another said the White House has been careful not to show its hand. But to carve down the package from $3.5 trillion over 10 years to an expected range of $1.9 trillion to $2.3 trillion will require an approach that involves both a trim as well as a slash. So you can start to see, folks, that the Democrats are in a very, very difficult position, and it's a tough position that they find themselves in. In fact, Congresswoman Susan Delbene, who's a Democrat from Washington, said this: "For President Biden's legacy, it's important to make these longer-term investments and not have short-term cliffs. We need to make sure people have certainty. Just doing something for a year or two doesn't have the impact, doesn't provide the certainty. We'll continue to push." So you can start to see, folks, that there's a lot of pressure. And, House Speaker Pelosi is also someone who's trying to get things done. She said this: "The theme among members is to do fewer things better." And you can start to see that the Democrats really are in a position where they have to cut back on what they want. And this is actually creating a lot of friction amongst the Democrats as well. Congressman Scott Peters, who's a Democrat from California, said this: "That was promised us and denied us. It's hard for a lot of people to figure out how they trust the process now, because a number of House Democrats are angry because President Biden had promised a $3.5 trillion bill. Peter said this: "Joe Biden is an old hand at this. He knows that the way you get things done is you sit down in a room with people you disagree with and you listen for agreement. And you can't do that by bashing people in the press or in the caucus meeting." And President Biden has said this: "I want to set one thing straight. These bills are not about left versus right or moderate versus progressive or anything that pits Americans against one another. These bills are about competitiveness versus complacency. They are about opportunity versus decay." In fact, let's roll the tape and hear what the president said. Let's watch.
Economists left, right, and center agree. Earlier this year, Moody's on Wall Street projected that the investments in these bills will bring us a higher GDP and an additional 2 million jobs per year and lower unemployment. These bills are not about left versus right or modern versus progressive or anything else that pits Americans against one another. These bills are about competitiveness versus complacency. Competitiveness versus complacency. Opportunity versus decay. They're about leading the world or whether we're going to let the world pass us by. The American people understand what's at stake here. They understand that when workers and families have a better shot, America has a better shot. Given half a chance, the American people have never, ever let their country down. Today, we receive more evidence of the progress we're making. And I know we can make a lot more in the days ahead.
So, folks, that is the fate of the $3.5 trillion stimulus plan. I had mentioned earlier on our channel that I expected the final plan to be around $2 trillion, and that is where things are going to end up. This is the compromise, and this honestly is a huge setback for the Democrats. That's where things stand right now. Thank you so much for watching. Please click like, please click subscribe, please enable notifications. I would really appreciate that. That is your way of supporting our channel. Also follow me on Twitter. This right here is my Twitter feed. My Twitter handle is ignition_time. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.